So here we are, back at it. It's Tuesday, and it's session 9 of the Work the Web training program. I'm here with quite a lot of participants, for which I'm really glad and grateful that you want to tag along and follow along in this in this curriculum. I am also on Twitch, people. So if you go to Twitch, Thomas_Ochman, I would appreciate that. Then we get a little bit of statistics, so you can have it running in the background if you can. Castras was first, and thank you again for subscribing again, Castras. I truly, for 3 months. Did you just purchase a 3 month subscription? Jesus, thank you, brother. Uh, well, I don't even know how greatly I appreciate, how I can express my appreciation for that. So that's fantastic. So follow me on Twitch and try to keep the chat of the meet. It's much better for everyone to chat on Twitch. Actually, I monitor that more than I monitor the chat on the Google Meet. Today's topic is an important one. We did cover React.js a few sessions back. Then we took a break from React and enjoyed ourselves with a bit of WebSockets, and we built a chat application with vanilla JavaScript and some HTML. But today it's time to go back to React and to Redux, and introduce you guys to application state. And for some of you, this will be new. For others, it will be a repetition. I call this talk something as bold as Redux as easy as it gets, or as basic as it gets, because I'm trying to explain application state in a way that is manageable. And why do I do that? Well, because when I started out with React, and then consequently when I moved into more complicated issues or use cases that required me to use application state, I found it rather hard to understand. I was studying a lot of documentation, tried to took some courses, and people were just jumping back and forward really fast, and I wasn't getting any smarter. So and I needed that. I needed to know about Redux for a project. But then fortunately I was also challenged with holding a class on Redux, an introductory class like this one. So I sat down and I wrote a little bit of code and tried to get this through as simply as possible. So hopefully I did. I managed. I don't know. You'll be the judge of this. We do have a few slides with a little bit of theory that we need to cover. You will probably get confused by those slides, and then hopefully when I do a demo, hopefully, as I said, you can connect the dots and it will become clearer. And I'm gonna cut away a lot of the BS that surrounds this topic with some extra features and some stuff that is often included in introductory courses to Redux that I think is too much to handle if you're new at this. These are things that can come in after a short while, not a long while. As soon as you have practiced this a little bit, then you can move into some other stuff. It was a little bit of a long preamble, but I'm a talker, so you're gonna have to live with that. So let's get after it. Let's see if we can get any smarter. Redux, as basic as it gets. So I have a quote, as often we do have quotes. So in this one we say, I always like to look on the optimistic side of life, but I'm realistic enough to know that life is a complex matter. So, and this is actually a good follow-up to my preamble, because I'm trying to make this as simple as possible, but shit is complex sometimes, So we need to acknowledge that. And this was by Walt Disney. Great guy, I guess. Right. So talking points for today: application state with Redux. Why do we even bother? Benefits of using application state. Then we're going to go over some building blocks of this flow or technology that we can use. And then we're going to do a code along if you want, or I will code and you will watch me and perhaps watch the recording afterwards or so. So remember, if you want to chat away, I see that we have a few new participants. Try to keep the chat to Twitch. If I may, I would appreciate that. I follow that chat more than anything, the one on the Google Meet. Okay, so let's get started. Redux is an addition to React. It's a library that is not included in. Let me just move my camera here. It's not included in React per se by default, so it needs to be installed if you want to use it in your application. But it provides a very solid and very stable and fairly simple to understand and use. It depends, of course. Solution to managing state across the entire application when you work with React. There are, of course, other implementations for other libraries like Vue and so on. But the idea is that you don't necessarily need to hold state only in your component. You want to do it for the entire application, and it will make things a little easier. And here, further on, we usually mention that through a handful of very small but useful patterns, with Redux, you can transform your application from a bit of spaghetti code or a messy code into a very well organized and easy to understand JavaScript application. So it is something that brings a lot of clarity to the table. And as I mentioned before, what Redux does at its core is to maintain the state of the entire application rather than scattered it all over the place in one single object, or state tree as we call it. And here we also add the fact that it's an immutable state tree, which calls for an explanation, and we will talk about this. But basically, when something changes that needs to be stored in state, the state isn't really modified, but rather discarded of, and a new state object is being created. Actually, very much like Git. Anyway, but the benefits: predictability of outcome. There is always one source of truth. You will never end up in a situation where you have set state in one component, passed it around. That state in the first component has been updated, and another component, like a child, doesn't know about it. So you will get rid of that problem. There is always one source of truth, which is the store object, and you don't have to worry about syncing anything or whatever. React will take care of this, or Redux will take care of this. Maintainability, having that predictable outcome and a strict structure makes your code much easier to maintain and understand. Organization, again, Redux is strict about how code should be organized, which makes the code more consistent and easier for your team to work with if you work on a distributed team project. Another thing is, of course, server rendering, which is very useful, especially for the initial render of your application, so that you can work with routes and paths, for instance. It allows for search engine optimization, for instance, and so on. There are a lot of developer tools available to you that will also further increase your productivity. And there is a lot of tools that will simplify testing for you, which is also a good thing. And Redux at its core is JavaScript functions, very small JavaScript functions with very well-defined scope, what they do, responsibilities. And that is one of the main principles for easy testing and maintainable code altogether. Uh, so it plays well in that dogma, just to keep things as simple as possible, separate the responsibilities, and make everything as transparent as you can possibly do. Make it. But there's also a fairly big community and a large ecosystem of additions and documentation and learning resources and so on, which is of course a huge plus when you work with something professionally as a developer, and even more so when you are in a learning stage, learning how to do things. Right. So let's talk a little bit about the building blocks, and they are three. So there are actions, and there are reducers, and there is the store. The store being the central part of Redux, and actions and reducers being like helper methods that allows you to modify the store, although you don't modify store, but update it one way or another by creating new objects. Actions, reducers, and store. And we try to explain this graphically because I know that a lot of people are more visual than verbal. Basically, what you do have is that you have a component, and a component can trigger an action. There could be like a button that triggers an action, or some other event. JavaScript is event based, that triggers an action, and the action updates the store by calling on the reducer. The reducer takes the old store, updates or takes the new payload or new data that you want to store, and create a new store object. And the component itself, in this example or in this diagram, can subscribe to that store, and as soon as state has been updated, then the normal flow of React kicks in, which is, and this is a mantra, you need to remember this, that as soon as the state has been updated, a state of a component or an application, then that component is being re-rendered, and this declarative aspect of programming comes in. You just basically tell, or you have by that time told the application that if state is set to a specific or holds a specific value or whatever, it needs to, your user interface needs to look in a specific way. So a component triggers an action. The action is responsible for creating a new store object, and to its help it has a reducer. All right, so that's theory. But let's take a look at what actions are again. So actions are used to send information from your application, from your user interface to the store. And sending that information to the store is imperative, or is needed to change the application state after, as I mentioned before, either a user interaction, an internal event that it has been triggered, or that the application receives some new data from an API call, networking, whatever, right? And an action is basically, or not basically, it is a JavaScript object. And this is an example of an action. An action is a JavaScript object that contains at least one, but often more than one, attributes. The one that it needs to contain is the attribute that is called type. This object needs to have a type, and that type can be set to whatever, as a string or as a variable, but it needs to contain a type. And then optionally it can have a payload, or actually you are free to name this one whatever you want. By default or by convention, it's often called payload. The type is required constant to identify the type of the action. that will be used by the reducer. If you don't have a type, Redux will tell you that something is wrong. I don't want to play ball. And the payload is an optional. In this example, the payload is actually another object with email, role, and ID, but it doesn't have to be an object. It can be a string. It can be whatever. However, it cannot be a function. It cannot be stored. It cannot be a function in its basic implementation. It can be achieved, but that calls for an extension. But you can hold any primitives or as a payload. Now, the dispatch is a method to dispatch an action, to send this action off. And today we are using dispatch as a hook. So React Redux implementation has embraced the idea of hooks, so we're using that. And so in this example, we are creating a dispatch using that hook. So const dispatch equals use dispatch as a function. We invoke that function, and then we create a variable called user data, for instance, with an object, and then we are invoking this dispatch, and we send in this object, which is the action, with the type, in this case authenticate user, and then the payload is user data in this particular example. So then the reducer will receive it and do stuff with that, but we're going to cover that in just a moment. But that is the simplest way to showcase how an action can be created. It's a simple object with one required attribute, and that is type, and that action needs to be dispatched by something at some specific point. And for that we use the use dispatch hook from the React Redux library. So you could, and we won't do it today, what you could do is to wrap this action into a function. So action objects, they can be created using function. And again, this is optional, and that is something that is called or referred to as action creators. And I'm mentioning this here because if you look through documentation or you look at some tutorials or Stack Overflow posts, you will see that action creators are often mentioned, and that's good. It's really good to use them. However, you don't have to use them. It's just for your convenience, and you will see later on why. Now, invoking actions in the application is pretty much the same. Action creators, is the same as when you invoke actions. You just create the dispatch object and you dispatch, but instead of putting in an object, you just put in that action creator, which is pretty much the same thing. Let's talk about the next building block, and that is the reducer. And I will not go into a long debate why it's called the reducers, because it's a little bit of there's a lot of people find this rather unintuitive name. There is a reduce function in JavaScript. You can look it up, what it does. But reducers per se, independent of what they are called or not, they are one of the most important building blocks, and that is which can also be very hard for some people to understand. Welcome, Anya. Should I say congratulations? I should. Oh, you have a ring on. Okay, unmute yourself, people, and give Anya a big round of applause.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. I'm a Mrs. Unicorn now. I have the
You're
ring.
Mrs. Unicorn. That's a fantastic ring.
Happy birthday, Mrs. Unicorn.
Thank you.
Is it okay if I pull it up on screen?
Yeah, sure.
Let me just hold on a second. Hold on a second. I need to pull this up right here. Here is Anya's unicorn.
Yeah.
Ring, that's fantastic.
This is the way.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations. I'm so happy for you. That's really good. Awesome. Okay, now you just jumped right into this. When was it? Was it yesterday? Or when was it?
No, it was on Saturday, but we stayed one day longer than expected with the
Well, of
family.
course you need a honeymoon or honey day or whatever.
Honey wine. Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. I'm so happy for you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, people, back to business. Let me just resume my screen share. Or am I screen sharing? Can you see my screen share? I guess you can. Okay. So the reducers. I got a bit sidetracked here. One of the most important building blocks, because the reducer is actually the part or the building block that is responsible for receiving the action, and whatever you are sending in, the type of the action and whatever payload you're sending, taking care of the fact or triggering the process that discards of the old state object or store object and creating a new one, and then making sure that the application can actually subscribe to that new state. So again, even here, there's no magic going on. They are just pure JavaScript functions that take a look at the application's current state and on the action object that you just sent in, and then return a new application state. That is pretty much what is happening, and nothing else. So there's no magic going on anywhere. It's a pretty simple process. Again, we will look at all of this from a practical perspective. If we take a closer glance at what a root reducer looks like in code, this is an example. A very basic example, doesn't do much for us, to be honest. It is called a root reducer, which you will see is a little bit of a conventional name for the main reducer of your application. And it takes two arguments, the state and the action. As I said, it looks at the state and the action and combines it into a new object. And in this particular example, the only thing it does is to return state. So it doesn't do anything. It doesn't modify anything. Not in this code example. But I think I have another one here. Right. So this is a slightly more complicated reducer. Just slightly more, to be honest. This one uses a switch operator. So what it does is it takes a look at the action type, which I told you guys is the required attribute. You have to have a type in your action object. So without it, Redux will just go bonkers and say, fuck off, I don't want to play ball. But in this case, you do have one. And in case that type is equal to authenticate user, then what this reducer does is it uses the spread operator on the state, and as the second after the comma, you just set authenticated to true in this particular example. So if this old object had authenticated with any other value than true, or usually false because it's a boolean, right? Then the new object will have all the other attributes if there were any, but authenticated will be changed to true, right? So your state object can have anything from 0 attributes or no content at all to hundreds of them, right? But it doesn't really matter. In this particular case, the only thing that will be changed is authenticated will be set to true, and all the others will be the same as they were. And if this action type doesn't contain anything at all, the default behavior of this reducer in this particular example would be just simply to return state, as you know, the other one, the previous one here. That's the only thing it did, right? So that is a JavaScript function. We're using the arrow function syntax, and we're using the spread operator. Nothing fancy going on here, but underneath the hood, this new state object will affect the rest of your application, or at least the components that care about this particular change. And you will be setting that manually as well, but more on that later. If we look at an even more complex reducer, in this case, we are taking care or reacting to two different types of actions. In this case, get articles. Again, this is just an example, or authenticate user. So you can have many of these case operators, right? And if you think that after a while your reducer grows out of proportion because you have 10, 15, 20 different actions that you are dispatching on various events, then you can split this reducer into sub-reducers, and then you use something called combined reducers. But we will not be covering that in this demo, because again, even though you might not believe me, this is Redux as basic as it gets. So we're trying to keep things as simple as we possibly can. But I just wanted to show you, in code what those reducers might look like. Okay, what else do I have for you? Well, of course, the third building block, which is the store itself, which is basically a huge ass object or small object or whatever object. It might not contain that much at all, but it is a central object. A bike? Okay, well, you're going to have to explain that, Castras, at some point. The story is it is a central object that holds the state of the entire application, with as basic as it gets. Okay, there we go. Thank you. I'm going to take that into my toolbox. Thank you for that. And the store is created by using the create store method or function that we get from the Redux library. And you basically need to import that module from Redux, and then you need to configure the store by creating the store or invoking this module and passing in the root reducer so that Redux know what to do with those actions and with the new state object or store object. Right. What else do I have? Nothing at all. Let's code. That's what I have for you. Do you have any questions at this stage? Zero questions. Okie dokie. Let's see if we can get some code up and running. I'm going to open up my terminal and where's my terminal? No? Oh, there it is. Okay. Right. So, I'm going to plug in my computer because my battery's about to die. I'm going to make this a little bigger. CD Agile Ventures, LS, and there was a React demo somewhere, wasn't it? First React app. So we're going to do CD first React app. I don't know if you guys coded along with me at some point, but I think some of you might. I know that Anya did this in her stream at some point. We built a very basic React application. So let's see if we can open it up. And this is the one we will be using for this particular demo. I'm just going to check my git status. Nothing. Git log. Right, that's example of class component. Right. I remember this one. Okay. So let's see if we can get this one up and running. Right. The window is not responding, really. Killed code 2? What?
I just wanted to say I didn't know we were going to continue.
Right.
I didn't know we were going to continue on the first React app. I upgraded to React 18 just for kicks. So I guess I'll see if anything's changed.
That should be okay. You should be good. You shouldn't. That shouldn't be a problem. I don't think it should. I think you should be good. But hold on a second. Just gonna see what's up with my code and Castra's choppy. Yes, I am choppy. So I think that I'm gonna have to kill the. I'm gonna have to kill the screen share. So I'm gonna have to revert to Twitch, people. Sorry about, but it's fine. I'm gonna just take a short little break and take a deep breath. Okay, am I still choppy Twitch? Hold on a second. Oh my god. Oh no. Right. What the fuck? Choppy ninja. Well, I'm choppy and chubby, I guess. A little bit chubby. I was actually doing a demo today about the BMI calculator. That's depressing for a guy like me, because I have 28.9 in BMI apparently. But anyway, it is what it is.
All that pizza, man. All that pizza.
It is all that pizza. That pizza that I'm cooking for myself. All right,
But
people.
you know, there's a new BMI. I don't remember exactly what it's called, but they found the old one outdated. So they've got a new algorithm for a new BMI.
Oh, that would be great if I could not be obese anymore, just by changing the algorithm. If you can send it my way, I would appreciate it. Then I can update my my demo with that. Hold on a second here. So
I'll look for it.
yeah, I don't know. The things just hang here. I don't not really sure what's going on. The beer mass index is also a good thing. So people chat away a little bit socially, because I really need to reboot my I need to reboot my VS Code. Okay, it's gonna take a short while, unfortunately. I'm not sure what's going on here. Damn it. Damn it. Right. We have full gigabyte. Sorry about that. A bit of lag is happening here. You lost your network connection. Oh my god.
That sounds
Okay,
really
good.
nice.
Yeah.
There we have Thomas.
Yeah, I dropped out for some reason. I don't know what's going on really.
We're very sorry, but it was a majority vote.
Am I still on stream? Can somebody see if
No,
I'm...
nope. Well, I think not.
Really?
The stream is up, but it's frozen.
It is, huh?
I think so. At least for me.
Yeah, it is frozen for me too.
Wow.
Same.
Really? And I'm frozen here as well.
Very choppy.
Yeah, we can see, but yeah, choppy.
It's the Icelandic choppy. You say chubby, but you think you say choppy. Right, this is great fun, folks. This is great fun.
Now you're live. No, now you're not live.
Now, okay, well.
Technology.
What are you gonna do? What can I kill
The
in order
risk
to...
of technology.
What can I do to kill this? What can I do to kill this? You know what? How about we try... Shit. Okay.
VS Code.
Yeah, it's the.
You
It
can
must
kill
be the VS Code. I don't know if I have...
Use Sublime.
If I have too many extensions or what's going on, or I don't understand that really. And now my
Twitch
Slack
seems
is...
to be up again.
Yeah. Yeah. Might be. I'm gonna kill Slack.
No, I've actually given VS Code a break.
You have?
Yeah, because this happens to me when I'm using VS Code.
Really?
When I have multiple folders open.
In a way, I'm glad you're saying that, because that means that I'm not the only one with issues. But on the other hand, I should not be having these issues. And why the fuck is this? Why I can't even open I can't even get rid of this VS Code window.
Even by force?
Like when you say force, you mean like... Let's see, hold on.
Like just kill VS Code altogether.
Yeah. Command Alt Escape.
Yeah, if I had an Alt. What is
Yeah,
it?
well,
It's Option Command.
Option Command Escape, and then you can choose to kill.
Fucking Spotify. When did I start Spotify? I don't use Spotify. Must be Spotify. Spotify is spying on me, isn't it? Those damn Swedes. No? That didn't kill. And now I lost my network on it. Fuck. Shit. Fuck.
Next time I start the computer, it will start again, without asking me or anything.
That's weird.
Okay, but I am still... Oh, come on. Give me a fucking break. I can't... Well, let's kill the terminal for a second. And we can open it again later. And let's kill this one. Not relaunch. No, I don't want to quit this. And again, this is still not disappearing. What the fuck? Second day of after vacation, and this happens. And I did specifically reboot my computer before I started the session to avoid this.
I get it.
Can you guys even hear me? Right, no, but this is fun. All right.
Yeah,
Yes.
loud and clear.
Sure.
Right. Too loud, probably. Let's see if we can...
Just nice seeing that it's not just me that has problems from time to time.
Right, let's see if we can address another issue before we start the coding. Carmen, you had a question about getting the latest code from the Agile Ventures fork, right?
Yes, sorry, I asked that question before even searching on the Slack. It is actually a thread that is that's describing step by step what to do,
Okay.
and I missed that one.
Okay.
So basically, you do have to, as you mentioned, add as a remote repository. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, that's good. So you solved it then.
Yes,
Good
I
stuff.
did.
Awesome. Awesome. All right.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
No problemos. No problemos. Go ahead, Tassilo. Go ahead.
Could you maybe share this post again on Slack so that we can also find it, because I also had this question and wasn't too sure if it's
So Carmen,
Git
if you
fetch.
can find
Oh,
that
yes,
again, you can reshare it.
definitely. Yes, I'll do that now.
Amazing, thank you.
Right.
I had a question.
Go ahead.
I shared a pull request link and Carmen got a 500. So I'm guessing I found out that GitHub had issues today, but I just wanted to ask that everyone has been added to the project, right?
We can take a look at that. That should work. If she has a 500, if Carmen gets a 500, that could be caused by her not being added to the project. So we will just take a look at that directly. If I even can type on my computer at this point. There we go. Right. Why would this be a problem? Could this be a problem? Am I infected with some sort of a virus? Do we have viruses on macOS? I don't know. There are so many questions, so few answers. Let's kill this.
So it's actually my post that is the step-by-step guide.
Once again?
So that was actually my step-by-step guide, but I just wrote those without any like I wasn't sure about all of these steps, so I just posted it to and I wrote over it, please edit, because I wasn't sure about all of this, and I think the fetching from the upstream isn't included in this step-by-step
You don't have
thing.
to always fetch
I
from
wonder
upstream.
if it's
It's not necessary at all times. You don't have to do that. It's
so it's not important to
well,
update it.
it's you don't have to do it at all times. Git fetch and then the remote name is only used from time to time. Like definitely you should do it for your own convenience, just so you get some data and some knowledge about the remote after the first time you've added the remote, and then after a while when you've been away for like a week or so, you can do the git fetch again, but it's not needed every time you pull. The important part is that you have that person or the main repository added as a remote, and if it's the main repository, by convention we call it upstream. That's one thing, and the second thing is that you issue this command git pull upstream and then the branch name. In our case it's main, so git pull upstream main. That will pull the latest code to your own local computer. And then if you want to update your repository, your fork, then you do it by pushing to your own repo. Does that make sense? Oh.
Yes. Thank you so much. This is
Okay.
what I needed.
Right. So let's see if we have you here, Carmen. I don't think so. Could you send me your GitHub username, Carmen, in any Slack or in call message? No, actually, you can call it. You can send it in this Google Meet message. Then I get your username, and I will be able to add you. So you won't get that 500 when you pull Carl's Carl's what am I trying to say? Carl's PR or whatever link he sent to you. So I'm gonna need your GitHub username. Carmen? Oh God.
I think I should
don't
have
even
probably
know.
read up on it more because we kind of just dived in and took
What-
like a
What are our GitHub actions actually?
code for continuous integration.
Right.
Tom?
Again, this is not really working out so great. Carmen, if I can get your GitHub username, then I can add you to this project. Okay?
Yeah, it is CVE, but Mike already added me, sorry,
You did?
the other day.
And what is your name?
Yeah, and so I can actually see CVE,
CD.
literally GitHub.
Oh, there you
Yeah,
go. Yeah.
CVE.
There you go. Okay. Yeah, but you
Yeah, and
only
I
have a
can
right
see.
access. Yeah, I'm just gonna give you an admin access. I need to give you a higher access.
Oh, I see.
Now you should be
So
able
when
to.
I can see the pull request, but I cannot see the files basically, and so
Right,
I'm
but
getting
now
the 500
if you
error.
reload that page, you should be able to see that.
Okay.
I think
That
so.
is a very interesting feedback to GitHub though, because the message is kind of confusing. 500 error.
Yeah.
But GitHub also had issues today, so I don't know if you were trying to access it just during that time. It's also possible.
Right.
Oh, okay. That
Could be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. So, folks.
So how's it going, Thomas?
Not well at all. Absolutely horrible. So we're gonna have to cut this session short, at least with my contributions, because my computer and my network is not what it's supposed to be. So what I'm gonna